So you might be completely on the robotics process automation train. You know that you want to adopt it in your organization, but your leadership, they might not be so sure. I'm joined today by a robotics process automation expert who's going to tell us a little bit about how you can convince your leadership to take that step. Thanks for joining us today, Ed. What do you think our viewers should do? What's their first step to convince their leadership RPA is the way to go for our organization?
Well, I think everyone's kind of different in how they approach the starting point, but I always take it as kind of a very human point of view. We're all creatures of habit. We do the same things every day, every week. We kind of we like doing these things, but when you actually look at our lives, we're kind of robots ourselves. We go to the same supermarket, we buy the same groceries at the same time, and if you apply it to your kind of day-to-day work, we're all sort of imbued in these kind of activities which really we need to do just to actually get to the work we're paid to do. So if you're an accountant or a finance function, the reports you have to run to then you can do the analysis, and running the report, having to do it regularly, remembering to do it at the right time. This is just enabling work you need to do that actually allows you to get to the value add work. So multiply that across your workforce, and suddenly you've got people who are doing lots of activities to get to the work they want to do. So from an organisation point of view, that's not fun. First of all, it's boring, it's unimpressive, it's kind of not challenging. And all the stuff that I want to be doing in the organisation, I need to get through the mire, through the mud. I always say get through the mud to get to the beach. So from an executive point of view, if your whole organisation is basically getting bogged down with transactional work, think about how good it would be for your employees, if you could actually get rid of that transactional work and actually allow people to do the work they were trained and paid to do. So it's a long way of saying, we all do really boring work that allows us to get to the stuff that we really need to be doing and really get paid to do and really add value for our organisation, for our customers. Let's just get rid of that, and that should be attractive enough for any organisation.
So there's a value add there. What about cost benefit analysis? It sounds like they're going to be saving money.
Well, there's always that kind of, we can get rid of lots of heads and we'll be, even more profitable. But the reality is that with automation and robotics, you're chipping away at parts of people's jobs. And so it's not really about, if we automate this, then, we can sack hundreds of people. The reality is you're kind of, making it easier for people to do their jobs better. So you end up with a kind of reverse value proposition that, you're going to keep people for longer because their jobs and their work is easier and more they're actually doing the stuff they're trained and valued at doing. So I think a lot of the fears around change and in losing jobs, but the reality is that's not how it's rolling out. People are actually, especially in a tight labour workforce where, there's more jobs than there are, more vacancies than are employees. The opportunities for people are huge.
So we can talk to management about the effectiveness and the efficiency. People are going to be finally doing what they're paid to be doing. What other benefits might there be for the organization?
Well, there's all these kind of overlooked benefits. So for example, if you're able to perform tasks that touch your customers better with lower errors, higher accuracy and faster turnaround, then maybe your customers will like you more. They'll actually come back and buy more products from you. And maybe there's products that are expensive for you to actually run, or so you can't actually go into certain spaces. But if you can automate them and make it faster and more efficient to actually operate the services, then maybe you can be competitive in markets you couldn't be competitive in before. So there's that. There's also compliance benefits. Rather than going from us kind of flawed humans and making mistakes all the time to an environment where you're kind of 100% error free, you're able to get things right every single time and do it faster, then just from a pure risk and compliance point of view, you're ticking a lot of boxes. So I mean, the packaging around RPA is very attractive. It's cheaper, faster, never makes errors, always turns up on time, and doesn't have to pay taxes. This is kind of perfect in many ways. Of course, in reality, it's a bit more difficult than that. But
I don't know what you said. That was the selling point, I think, for most firms.
Yeah. Well, then I'll come to reality, and reality is slightly more. There are challenges. Nothing ever as easy as it sounds. But in terms of the value proposition, it's very, very sellable.
Now, inevitably, some firms going to hear this and they're going to think this sounds great, which it is, but they're going to come back with some concerns or questions. What are the most common concerns that you think firms have about adopting RPA, and what's your response to those?
Well, one of the most surprising. So in public, people will hear the case studies and be very excited by it, and everyone will be up on stage talking about their case studies. In reality, the behind stage, what people are talking about, especially larger users, is how do we get skilled up on this stuff? How do we get our people the right skills, the right kind of information, the right knowledge? I run the RPA Academy. We specialise in training people, so this is not a pitch. But the fact is that it's kind of, when you've got demand going like this and the skills, supply is like this, there's just this kind of gap it needs to get filled. So that's what bigger organisations are really sort of looking forward. And it just compounds itself when you move from RPA to machine learning into kind of AI. And so the whole skills shortage is kind of, skills gap is going to be the biggest risk and challenge for organizations.
So that would be a great message to our members then, right? Just make sure you're learning this technology and learning how it can be applicable to your specific role.
Yeah, and I think there's also one of the great sort of attractions of the platforms is, anyone can pretty much learn it. I was with one big pharmaceutical a couple of weeks ago, and their customer services team were trained in what sounds like high-end technology, and it is, but the way it's been packaged, the way it's been built, means that anyone with any background, not just a technical background, can actually learn how to use RPA. So it's very accessible. So people shouldn't be afraid of learning it.
And I think the accessibility piece is really key, because that's a concern that we hear as well. So to know that you can do this, you don't have to be a coder, you don't have to be a software developer to be able to implement this in your organization. Yeah,
and actually, what I find funnier is that the technology people, the business operations people can actually learn the technology side of it, and they, whether they're going to actually use it or rely on developers is up to them. So the business side is very good at learning the technology. The developers are very bad at learning the business side. So I always encourage the developers to spend time understanding the business case, the business change impact, just because I think it rounds out their knowledge and their applications. So,
are there any final thoughts that you'd like our viewers to walk away with when it comes to RPA?
Yeah, RPA is incredibly powerful. It's going to be here for many years to come. But it's not. It's really the starting point. It's not the end point. By getting your head around what RPA is, starting to implement it, it's going to open up new questions. You think, well, actually, and it's going to force you down looking for solutions that RPA isn't designed to resolve. So it's a great entry point, because it takes you individually and your organisation through a kind of evolution and a sort of culture change, which then helps you through the journey from, RPA into machine learning into AI, leveraging big data, addressing cybersecurity concerns. So it really is just a phenomenal kind of like gateway to, I guess, what the world's going to be over the next 5 or 10 years.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you all for tuning in. And I hope that you learned a little bit more about robotics process automation, and that you now have the confidence to go speak to your leadership about it.